I'm just not ready to leave.
More than 650,000 children in America live in foster homes.
I don't even have a job. How will I afford rent?
On their 18th birthday, they are forced out to live on their own.
Where am I gonna get food?
You can help.
I'm so scared.
Find out how you can help.
Children enter foster care for a number of reasons: physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, death of a parent. No matter what the reason, it is never the fault of the child, but it is their burden. Foster care is not a magical place where children are quickly adopted by Mr. and Mrs. Perfect and swept out of abandonment to a lovely house with a white picket fence. Children on average spend about 5 years in the foster care system, a time during which they are bounced around between multiple foster homes, schools, and the court system. Some children will be reunified with their family. A much smaller number are adopted, and many, unfortunately, will languish in the system until they emancipate or age out. When this happens too often, the youth is provided no continuing services or support in the foster care system.
Find out who's your friend. You gotta brush the dirt off, then you get back up again. And then you get back up, and when you back up.
The term age out generally means a young person who's lived in the foster care system reaches the age of majority in the state and does not have a place to return home to.
Why, when you were 11, you were removed from your mother's custody?
Because she was, I think she just wasn't home a lot, you know. She had an addiction, you know, she used to use drugs.
The federal government and state governments are not required, once young people turn the age of majority in a state, to provide anything to these young people. Most states are supposed to, under federal law, provide a youth with a number of independent living services. For a number of reasons, only about half of the kids who age out of foster care get independent living services. And there are many states, there are many places in the country, many jurisdictions where a young person reaches the age of 18 and is handed a bag, told to collect their belongings. The next day, they're out on their own. You know, young people aging out of foster care have a higher post-traumatic stress disorder rate than Gulf veterans and Vietnam veterans. You find that they spend a night homeless at the rate of 25%. And then there are high out-of-wedlock births, high teen pregnancy rates. I mean, you can go down the list of things, you know, but the reality is, talk to the young people who are aging out of foster care and they'll tell you how hard their lives are.
I came into foster care because my mom was 15 years old when she gave birth to me, and about several years later she had my little brother, and she left me for days unnumbered to take care of my brother because she walked out and left us as a result of her addiction to heroin. One of the things that was really sad, though, is that as a result of being in foster care, we moved around a lot. We were moved from home to home and rejected quite a bit. I still live a lot with that pain. The thought of moving from house to house and going through that, whenever I think of those times, I often think about the numbers of children who still go through that. I think about it because of how it affects me today in my relationships, in how I view and approach life, the passion that I bring to the things that matter most to me. I also remember the hope that I had for the many times that families came forward and there was interest expressed and possibly my brother and I getting adopted. And I remember the excitement that people expressed when they saw us and they thought that we were cute little boys while we were cute when we were 12 and 9 years old. And I remember the things that they would say about how we look like this relative or look like that relative, and how that would just give me so much encouragement and hope, because I thought I might get my chance at a family. And I remember the disappointments when it didn't happen. I often wondered why when I was placed in a home, someone might send me back because maybe I wasn't the kind of kid that might tell the truth all the time, or I was a kid who stole things from time to time, or I would act out in different ways. And I felt bad because when I would get kicked out of a home, I would look at my little brother and realize that it was often my fault that we were being thrown out of a home. And those feelings again of moving from place to place and feeling a bit unsettled made it very hard for me to trust people. I went through the rest of my life feeling as if I wasn't quite good enough, feeling that there was something really wrong with me because I never did get a family. And I know that there are hundreds of children out there, hundreds of thousands of children out there who beat themselves up because they really wonder why aren't they good enough to get a home. Something that every child deserves. It's a basic human right for children to have childhoods, to not have to worry and wonder, why don't they have family? Why don't they have a mom and a dad, or an aunt and an uncle? Some kind of security of family so that they can thrive and grow up to be the best kind of people that they can be. I struggled with that. I tried to dig deep within so that in spite of it, I can be the best person that I could be. And so ultimately, I was determined to prove people wrong. I wanted to make sure that I would be in a position one day to care for my brother if something could happen, when something happened to him, and to care for my other siblings that came along afterwards. So ultimately, I did do that. I went on and I graduated from high school in spite of all the moves, and that resulted in me having to go to 6 different high schools. And I graduated on time as my class valedictorian. I went on to college and I got a degree in health and human services, and then I went on and received another degree in healthcare management and another graduate degree in management, and had a successful career in the Navy, and went on and just other great jobs, and became an advocate for children, although that was never my intention, but found that I really needed to do that because I wanted people to understand the pain and to understand the possibilities at the same time that all of the children who are waiting have. And I often wonder now that although I never did get that family, that when people look at me and they see that I actually became the director of a major foundation, that I was the chief of staff in the mayor's office in Washington, D.C., and that now that I run a major advocacy organization, I actually wonder, who wouldn't want to call me son now? Who wouldn't be proud of having me as a part of their family? And how many children out there would say the same?
My biggest dream for Shanika is for her to have a forever family, somebody who can walk her down the aisle when she gets married.
Someone to love you.
Somebody that can care for me.
Now who can build me up now that you have got me to say?
Support children and help them.
I just wish I could be who I am.
Extraordinarily proud, somewhere I thought I'd never be.
Help me to be who
know if I would have been, honestly, if I didn't have people I had in my life today.
I wish that I had a family that I could be with all the time.
It's a good all-around family, I guess.
Nice parents that care.
Really, I want a mom.
My own family.
I love to be with a family and mom and dad and stuff. And I just like being with family and stuff so I can be me. Be a better man.